Welcome, history warriors, to a journey into the dark forests of the ancient world. On one side, giant barbarians swinging massive weapons with pure, untamed rage and brutal force. Opposite them stand the Roman legionaries, shorter men hiding behind a solid wall of shields. How did these smaller soldiers crush the towering giants and devour the entire Western world? The secret lies not in physical strength, but in a ruthless machine of mechanized destruction. Step into the 1st century, an era when the expanding Roman Empire faced its greatest nightmare. Deep inside the terrifying forests of ancient Germania, heavy rain pours relentlessly. The trees here tower in shadows, hiding a massive coalition of fierce tribal warriors. These are the legendary Barbarians, giant men whose bodies are painted with dark, ancient symbols. Historical records claim their intimidating roars could freeze the courage of ordinary men. They are fueled by primal rage, swinging massive iron axes and long, deadly broadswords wildly. They stand for untamed freedom, relying on overwhelming individual physical power. Facing this massive horde is the Roman Legion, an entirely different breed of ancient warrior. These soldiers are shorter, wearing identical iron armor and matching cold expressions. They do not scream or break their lines, standing shoulder to shoulder in perfect, terrifying silence. This silent discipline is deeply unsettling, a stark contrast to the wild screaming of their enemies. They grip their large rectangular red shields, known as the scutum, waiting for the inevitable clash. It seems impossible for these smaller men to survive the incoming wave of pure, brutal muscle. In a simple brawl, the giant tribal warriors would easily defeat the much smaller Roman forces. Yet the Roman Empire does not fight simple brawls. They wage a highly calculated, precise war. Suddenly, the barbarian horde charges forward, rushing through the muddy roots with terrifying speed. The ground violently shakes beneath their heavy footsteps as they close the distance to the Roman line. In response, the silent legionaries swiftly raise their right arms, firmly gripping their heavy javelins. This weapon, called the Pilum, is not just a simple throwing spear. It is a marvel of engineering. On command, a darkened sky is filled with thousands of iron-tipped wooden missiles flying rapidly. The javelins violently strike the charging enemy, piercing straight through their thick wooden round shields. Here is the true genius of the Pilum. Its long iron neck is cleverly designed to bend on impact. Once embedded, the bent javelin cannot be pulled out, completely destroying the heavy shield's balance. The mighty warriors must drop their useless shields, exposing their unarmored, thickly painted bodies. They must now charge blindly into the deadly Roman line without any form of wooden protection. The Roman centurion barks a sharp order in Latin, cutting right through the chaotic, loud noise. Instantly, the Roman soldiers step forward and lock their large, red shields tightly together in unison. They form an impenetrable wall of curved wood and brass, overlapping flawlessly without any gaps. This is the famous Testudo formation, a moving fortress designed to absorb heavy incoming blows. The giant barbarians fiercely crash into this red wall, swinging their long swords with absolute fury. But their massive, sweeping strikes simply bounce off the solid shields, wasting their precious energy. In the tight, muddy spaces of the dark forest, a long broadsword becomes a terrible disadvantage. The tribal warriors cannot swing properly, their weapons striking the surrounding wooden tree trunks. Meanwhile, the Roman soldier stays safely hidden behind his shield, calmly watching the enemy tire out. He does not swing his weapon wildly. He conserves his stamina for the exact right moment to strike. The ultimate weapon of mass destruction in the ancient world was small, measuring under 2 feet. This is the Gladius, a short and incredibly sharp sword, designed strictly for extremely close combat. While the tribal warrior raises his axe, exposing his stomach, the Roman slightly opens his shield wall. In one smooth, precise motion, the legionary thrusts the short blade directly into the exposed flesh. It is a calculated, fatal stab, requiring little effort, but causing absolute devastation. The Roman pulls the blade back, closes the shield gap, and steps over the fallen warrior carefully. This is not a glorious duel between heroes. It is a cold, industrialized machine moving forward. The Legionaries' fight is a terrifying single organism, crushing down the chaotic rebel horde. Crimson stains mix heavily with the dark mud, yet the Roman faces remain emotionless and focused. They simply do a job, following strict orders and executing their deadly techniques flawlessly. Imagine being in that forest, watching this unstoppable red machine slowly crush your strongest brothers. Many modern historians argue this brutal efficiency is exactly what built the greatest empire. The barbarian chieftain desperately roars in frustration, slamming his heavy hammer against the red shields. His immense strength dents the wood, but he cannot break the unified spirit of the men holding the line. The Roman line simply absorbs the heavy shock, quickly resets its position, and delivers another blow. Exhaustion begins to overcome the fierce tribal warriors, their initial wild rage burning out in the rain. They realize too late that their individual bravery is entirely useless against organized teamwork. A single Roman soldier might lose to a warrior in a duel, but 1,000 Romans will always win. This disciplined approach to warfare was drilled into every single legionary from the moment they joined. They practiced these simple, deadly thrusts against wooden poles for countless painful hours every single day. The Roman military machine was built on endless repetition, ensuring perfection under pressure. Even when surrounded by screaming enemies and terrifying warhounds, the legionary remains calm. He trusts the man to his left and protects the man to his right, forming a sturdy chain of survival. This profound mutual trust is the invisible armor that truly protects the Roman army in the forest. The heavy rain washes the stains away, but the conflict continues with terrifying, rhythmic precision. The centurion blows his whistle, commanding the front line to rotate and let fresh soldiers step forward. This brilliant tactical rotation ensures the fighting Romans are always rested, strong, and fully energized. Meanwhile, the surviving warriors are exhausted, desperately gasping for air in the muddy, crowded chaos. Their long, heavy weapons now feel like massive burdens, impossible to lift with their tired, aching arms. The Roman advance is slow, deliberate, and absolutely unstoppable, like a creeping wall of red iron. They push forward, step by heavy step, tightening the deadly trap around the remaining tribal warriors. The short Gladius continues its grim work, finding the weak points in the enemy's unarmored bodies. It was a weapon of pure pragmatism, designed not for show, but for the dark reality of conquest. Why swing a sword and waste your energy when a simple 2-inch stab is enough to silence a foe's breath? This chilling logic is the very foundation of Roman military supremacy across the ancient world. They turned the chaotic art of war into a reliable science of destruction and absolute dominance. The giant tribal chieftain finally falls to his knees, his body pierced by multiple precise, short-weaponed thrusts. His terrifying bearskin hood falls into the mud, a powerful symbol of wild nature, defeated by order. As their supreme leader collapses, the remaining barbarian morale shatters, entirely turning into panic. The mighty warriors drop their weapons and attempt to flee through the dense, unforgiving forest terrain. But the Roman military machine has no mercy, steadily marching forward to finish the grim assigned task. The clash of metal slowly fades away, replaced by the heavy sound of rain and the groans of the fallen. Would you have the incredible mental strength to stand silently behind a shield while a giant swings an axe? This extraordinary psychological discipline was perhaps Rome's most powerful and effective secret weapon. They conquered their own human fear long before they ever stepped onto the muddy battlefield to fight. The dark forest is now completely silent, littered with the massive bodies of the fallen tribal fighters. The victorious Roman legionaries stand tall amongst the fallen, calmly wiping their bloody short swords clean. Their red shields are heavily scarred and covered in dark mud, but their unbreakable formation remains intact. This incredible victory was not a mere stroke of luck. It was the direct result of superior order. Every aspect of their campaign was perfectly planned, from the supply lines to their calculated marching speed. At the end of every exhausting day of marching, they would build a fully fortified camp from scratch. They chopped down trees, dug deep trenches, and raised wooden walls to ensure their safety every single lonely night. This constant, grueling labor made them incredibly tough, far stronger than their small physical size might suggest. The enemy slept in the cold, wet mud, while the Roman soldier rested securely behind high, strong defenses. Battles were often won and lost before the first sword was even drawn, decided entirely by logistics. The barbarians fought for personal glory and wild revenge, but the Romans fought for the mighty state. They were small gears in a massive, terrifying machine that simply could not be stopped by mere muscle alone. The heavily armed legions marched across Europe, Africa, and Asia, spreading their absolute dominance. They absorbed enemy territories, enslaved entire populations, and built the foundations of modern history. The Roman sword built an empire that lasted for centuries, fueled by iron and ruthless discipline. The bodies of the giants lie broken, completely defeated by the relentless Roman military war machine. A single coordinated legion was far more dangerous than 100,000 disorganized, angry men. Their tactical supremacy completely revolutionized the way ancient warfare was brutally conducted. They engineered deep formations to withstand and shatter the heaviest charges of tribal warrior cavalry. Every soldier knew precisely where to stand, when to strike, and how to effectively defend his sworn brother. The Romans essentially treated warfare like a highly efficient industrial mechanical process. In contrast, the brave Germanic tribes viewed battle as a glorious, deeply personal test of human honor. This fundamental difference in philosophy sealed the dark, tragic fate of the northern barbarian warriors. To the deeply analytical Romans, individual heroism was a deadly and dangerous liability. A soldier stepping out of line to fight alone would expose the entire unit to sudden destruction. Therefore, absolute strict obedience and emotional control were valued far above physical, raw strength. The heavy rain finally stops, revealing the terrifying aftermath of this mathematically perfect victory. Slowly, the thick morning fog rolls over the muddy ground, partially hiding the brutal devastation. Crows descend from the dark canopy, drawn by the undeniable scent of metallic crimson and fallen meat. The mighty Roman military machine has survived yet another brutal clash in the deepest of the dark woods. They methodically march forward, leaving behind a massive graveyard of entirely shattered dreams and axes. By breaking down the complex chaos of combat into simple, repeatable, and clearly synchronized motions, Rome successfully destroyed the unpredictable nature of war, turning it into calculated certainty. You did not need to be a legendary-born hero to fight effectively for the glorious Roman Empire. You just needed to follow orders, hold your shield high, and thrust your short sword when you were verbally commanded. This brilliant system allowed Rome to quickly train thousands of ordinary citizens into lethal forces. They could rapidly replace fallen casualties and return to the bloody battlefield without significant delay. A barbarian tribe might take 20 long years to fully raise and train a towering warrior of the woods. The Roman war machine could forge a fierce legionary from a humble farmer in just a few short, busy months. This immense logistical superiority ensured that Rome kept marching, no matter the heavy, tragic loss. Their unparalleled ability to adapt, quickly rebuild, and effectively conquer was absolutely terrifying. They systematically absorbed rebellious nations, powerfully dragging them into the civilized ancient age. The famous Roman roads, massive aqueducts, and colosseums were built upon countless, terribly broken bones. It is a harsh historical truth that grand civilization often requires deeply cruel tools of expansion. The scutum shield and the short Gladius sword were the absolute foundational pillars of Western history. Today, we can look back at the dark, muddy forests of Germania and truly understand the immense tragedy. We can recognize the immense courage of those giants who valiantly fought to defend their native homeland. Yet history rarely rewards pure passion. It consistently rewards cold, calculating battlefield efficiency. The terrifying strength of a single giant was completely nullified by the synchronized actions of many. Look closely at the sharp design of the deadly Pilum Javelin, built specifically to quickly bend upon strike. That single piece of bent metal effectively disarmed an entire generation of proud northern warriors. It completely represents the ultimate triumph of human intellect and engineering over raw, natural force. As the mighty legions marched steadily outward, they carried this mechanized philosophy across ancient borders. They encountered countless different enemies, from Egypt to the rainy, deeply desolate hills of ancient Britain. Yet the core strategy of the Testudo and the precise Gladius thrust remained totally unchanged and pure. It was a mathematically perfect formula for domination, perfected through centuries of brutal conflict. We must acknowledge that their undeniable military genius was fundamentally built on extreme suffering. Every paved street leading back to the glorious city of Rome was built upon the fall of defeated nations. The powerful Roman Empire did not just defeat its enemies, it systematically erased their presence. So when you admire the brilliant tactical moves of ancient legions on a beautiful crafted parchment map, remember the dark, horrifying, and incredibly painful reality of those violently contested woodland battles. The ultimate cost of eternal glory is always paid in the mud, through unyielding discipline and execution. Rome successfully conquered the earth not with brute muscle, but through cold discipline and calculated triumph. Was this brilliant tactical strategy, or just the cruelest military grinder in history? Leave a comment. If you enjoyed this dark, epic journey, please firmly like this video, actively share it, and subscribe for more.